This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, an open-source non-ICO crypto project powered by community. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. That's TUSC.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Hey folks, Rob McNealy here, and today I am talking to Nico Hernandez. He is developer out of Colombia, South America, or Central America, wherever that is. And today we're talking about their project, which is pretty cool. It's called Fantasy Gold. So welcome to the show, Nico. How are you today?
Good, good. Thank you very much for having me. Doing very well, thank you.
Like most Americans, I'm geography independent or geography illiterate. Man, I'm having a bad day today. So where are you in Colombia?
This is South America, not Central America.
Sorry. It's like I'm having a long day.
It happens. It happens. So we're in Los Llanos, about 2 hours outside of Bogota.
So when you think of crypto and tech hubs, you don't normally think of South America. Am I right?
Correct. Although Medellin is becoming a really big tech hub. Actually, Medellin is considered one of the most tech advanced cities in South America. There's actually a couple of blockchain companies there, exchanges, and other type of projects. No coins or tokens that I know of, but there are some blockchain companies there doing wallets and exchanges and things like that.
That's very cool. It's interesting because I go to a lot of conferences and I talk to a lot of people, and it seems like South America and Africa are like the two regions that you don't hear a lot about crypto from yet. And I do think that there's a lot of potential in those different markets. But before we kind of jump into all that, kind of tell me a little bit about who you are. How did you get into this space? What are you up to? How did you first hear about crypto, and what got you into doing a project?
Sure. So I've been doing things on the internet since '96. So back when AOL was the thing, and it was just started kind of to creep out and get into the mainstream before DSL and all of this other stuff. So I was doing network setup, server rooms, and that sort of thing. And later on, I got into, doing some purchasing and selling of source codes, closed-in source codes. Like maybe there was I would look for projects that were marketable, but maybe the developer had kind of lost the passion for the product, something that I might see a market for. So I started buying and selling source code to things like Facebook apps and other websites and things like that. So then later on, we also started a security company. So we started a security company here in Colombia. I was running for quite a number of years, doing a lot of network and access security control for big corporations, government installations, that sort of thing. And then there we kind of decided to close that business. I started looking at, I wanted to do a fun project. And one of the fun things that I learned to do in the States was actually fantasy sports. So I hired a team of guys, and we took about a year and a half to develop a fantasy sports platform. So if you think like FanDuel or DraftKings, we were modeled basically after those sites. And it became a successful business in terms of a white label. I actually had a lot of companies approach me and license software from me, and they would throw on their front end and use my back end. Later on, I decided, hey, I want to launch my software, the software that I had built, and I want to show it to people. And at that time, PayPal and the other traditional type of processors were really getting stringent on who they would allow in. So, and they were even freezing some accounts. So I didn't want to have to deal with that. And I had studied a little bit about blockchain already. At that point, I had already bought some Bitcoins. I had some master nodes from a few coins, like small coins. And so I was already interested in it as an investment for myself. But then I thought and I said, well, if I can't use PayPal or one of the other mainstream, credit card processors, this is a perfect use for this. Then anybody can play on the site. You don't have to have a PayPal account or a credit card to play. If you have some digital currency, you can play and enter into contests and tournaments on the site. So that's how we kind of started it out. So we initially launched in July 2017. So we're rounding out 3 years now in the blockchain.
So where do you see it going? What is your ultimate kind of goal for this project?
Well, my goal always has been to build a full ecosystem for anyone wanting to do fantasy sports, esports, any type of gaming. Because the way that I see things going is I feel like there's going to be these small niche industries that have their own coins, right? So you don't need a dozen of the same type of coin. There can only be one, Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, whatever camp you belong to there.
Neither.
You've got, your Ethereum, which has its use case, of course, great model, and coins like Dash and Pivx. I see those as like the umbrella type of currencies, and then everything down below there should have some sort of ecosystem, some reason to want to have that coin, right? Not just to buy it and I hope it 10x's next week or next month. You're going to buy a token and okay, what can I do with this token now? Can I play a video game? Sure. Can I bet on fantasy sports? No problem. Can I do esports? Absolutely. So, we're trying to make something that's use case oriented, not just hype and, we're going to have this great stuff sometime in the future, So that's kind of where I see us going, and hopefully we'll be able to track some additional developers since our chain supports smart contracts and tokens. So we're hoping to showcase some good products that we've made here in-house, and hopefully that will inspire some other developers to say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of Ethereum or Tron, maybe I should think about making a token on Fantasy Gold because that's where maybe they have an audience that's already going to appreciate what I have to offer, the product or the app that I'm building.
You've done some innovative things compared to a lot of other smart contracts platforms, I think namely with interoperability with other blockchains. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So obviously we have, the important component there is going to be the Ethereum virtual machine, right? So in our chain, there's also an Ethereum virtual machine running on the network, which supports the contracts. And we didn't do anything to the protocol other than rename it for a naming convention on the chain from ERC20 to FGC20. So you can basically decide, well, I have a Tron token, but I'd also like to have an FGC token. You can copy paste your smart contract into the compiler, grab the bytecode and paste it into your FGC wallet and submit the contract, and now you have a token on both chains.
So are those tokens then, would they be a duplicate token on each chain, or is that just meaning that your ERC20 token is now completely compatible on the Fantasy Gold blockchain?
Yeah, it would be essentially two separate tokens. But for example, if you have a Tron token or an Ethereum token and you're worried about things like gas, network times, it might make sense for you to just say, hey, you know what, instead of Ethereum, I already have my code done. I can just copy paste and create my token on the FGC chain.
So if I was going to say swap from an ERC20 to an FGC20, how easy is it for the exchanges to adopt that and then track that?
So basically, with a swap, for the exchanges to do that, if they support FGC chain, if it's already listed on that exchange, all they have to do is add a single line to their configure file, and they're able to support FGC20 tokens, right? So it's not a complicated thing for the exchanges to do. And the address that an exchange gives you, so your typical FGC address that you generate, whether it's in your wallet or on an exchange, that same address is also, can also be used for tokens, to send and receive tokens. So for the exchange, for an outside exchange, it should be a fairly straightforward process. And then we are also, right now we're in closed beta, and we are adding FGC20 tokens to our own exchange. So if there was a swap, we would also, be willing to help people facilitate those swaps on the exchange.
When is your exchange launching?
Well, like I said, right now we're in closed beta. I have some UI issues that I'm not happy about. I want things to update in real time without refreshing. So we've got most of the market parameters doing that now. And so I think right now we're just looking at finishing up the FGC20 tokens. I'm hoping that this week we can finish that and start testing those. And hopefully we can also clean up the UI a little bit and get it ready for the initial public launch. So hopefully 1 to 2 weeks, we might be able to open up to public beta and start seeing some transactions going on there.
So is your project a centralized project or a decentralized project?
Decentralized, very decentralized. We didn't hold a big ICO and hold back a lot of coins. Team members, the current team now that's holding coins, they own coins because they purchased them. They weren't giving anything in an ICO. And so there's not, a centralized control over those things. 99% of the tokens that are in production now or out on the market now are owned by the community. So, and we also, in 2018, we received a letter of opinion that we are a decentralized utility, not a currency, not a coin.
So is there a foundation or any kind of corporation behind this, or is it just completely on-chain governance?
Just completely on-chain governance. At some points, if we get some commercial success in some of our projects, corporations will have to be set up, to pay any legal taxes required in, whatever jurisdiction we're operating in at that point.
So how does your blockchain play with others in the sandbox?
How do you mean?
So, how do you deal with, for instance, with Bitcoin? I read somewhere you guys have some, functionality cross-chain that can work with the Bitcoin blockchain. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, the coin is essentially Bitcoin using the unspent transaction, and it has the Ethereum EVM submodule. So there's a submodule in the chain, in the code, that handles all of the Ethereum type of virtual machine requirements in C++, so that it works with our Bitcoin-based blockchain. So it's basically Bitcoin, but with an added, instead of doing your typical proof of work mining, it's proof of stake. So the nodes, the users out there who are staking coins, they're the ones that are processing and verifying transactions. And then, the block reward is handed out to 10 people in the staking pool. Who's ever staking at that time, individually, when a block is created, it gets sent out to 10 people for the block reward.
So where are you in your roadmap outside? I know you said you're in your beta right now, closed beta for your exchange. Where are you with the blockchain and the crypto community piece of this? Or do you have any kind of integrations right now or any partnerships of note that would be interesting to hear about?
Yeah, I don't know which names I can mention. We are speaking with an esports group that has a pretty pretty large following. They have a token on another chain, and they're looking at switching over to us. So we've been in talks with them quite a bit. I'll actually help them put their token together the way that they want it to be done, and they're hopefully going to swap over from their token to an FGC20 token here shortly. I have the partnership with FGC Arena, which they're getting some things worked out on their end, both internally and with the site. But once they do that, FGC Arena will have its own token. And so other than that, there are some partnerships with potential partnerships with other developers who are either thinking about or already have done something in blockchain and are considering looking at us for their chain to run their tokens on.
So in your ecosystem, I mean, it seems like you got a couple things going on, and just help me understand. So you have your own crypto that is traded already on exchanges and things, and you would like that to be used for, say, betting or in sports game, in sports, esports, in-game purchases and that kind of thing. But then you also have this separate, smart contracts platform where other people can build their own tokens on the back of your network. Is that correct?
Kind of, yeah. So FGC, the base currency, as I guess I would call it, the base currency, the base coin is FGC. And so if people would like to adopt FGC and use FGC on the website directly, they can. So we're trying to provide those tools, the necessary JavaScript libraries and Web3 libraries to do all of that stuff. A lot of that stuff is in our GitHub already. But essentially, if they don't want to use FGC and they want to create their own token, then they have that option to do so. They can very easily and very simply just make their own token and deploy it and use that instead of the base token, the base coin itself.
Would you expect that people that are building tokens on your network would be largely also used in the esports arena? Or are you thinking that they'll just be used for anything? I guess what I would think about is is there a risk of cannibalization between your existing base currency and these other tokens if they're both kind of focused on the same space?
Not really, because, so for example, we have Draft Daily that was running successfully for quite some time. We were actually the first crypto that had an actual functioning and working daily fantasy sports sites. Even before the others, while they were still in planning, we came out with the product first that was actually working. So let's say we decide, okay, well, we've got a little bit of time and we have sports back, of course. We would need sports to come back. So if sports comes back and we relaunch Draft Daily, we've already have our Draft Dollars token on the chain for that site. If another fantasy site wants to come in and make their own token, that's fine with us. Maybe they provide a different user experience. Maybe they provide a different way to play the game, different rule sets that they like better, different sports, anything that they want that's different. The fact that there's two tokens there on the same space trying to compete for kind of the same customers, it's not that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, just like Ethereum, you have to pay a gas, right? So on our chain, if you're doing transactions with tokens back and forth, you're paying a gas, but in this case, the gas is FGC. And that gas that's spent on those transactions, whether, you have Rob's fantasy token and Draft Dollars token. If I'm doing transactions and playing on one or either of the site, the users still have to have some FGC in their wallets to pay for those transactions. And those fees, those transaction fees that are in FGC, actually 100% of that go back to the staking pool. So for example, our block reward is 5 FGC per block. Well, if you have some transactions mixed in with that block could be 7 or 8, and it's going to go out and be divided up to those 10 people that are up next for the staking reward. So, you're creating an ecosystem that benefits everybody, the holders, the stakers, and And at the end of the day, the individual apps, it's dependent on them to make the user experience that the users want to play with, you know?
So are your transaction speeds, are they pretty fast? How fast is a confirmation on your blockchain?
So block time is approximately 2 minutes right now, but the transaction speed is very fast. It's almost instantaneous. So, for example, in beta testing, the exchange testing withdrawals was obviously very important. I would say in less than 5 seconds from you clicking the submit withdrawal and it being, allowed through the admin, you're going to see it on your desktop wallet.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to use words like instantaneous, but it's pretty close to it.
So gas, we were with Tusk originally an ETH token, and then we built our own blockchain. And gas was a pain in the ass on Ethereum. In fact, gas is one of the main reasons we left Ethereum. Have you done anything to differentiate how you guys treat gas than say Ethereum's doing? Or is it the same kind of, same kind of complications?
No, it's, well, in Ethereum, you have Ethereum, which is the base coin, you have your token, and you have your gas. So they've introduced this third thing into the equation. So in our system, FGC is the gas. So there's no third piece to the puzzle. Which helps things quite a bit, makes things a little bit more leaner and a lot less complicated. So you don't have to have Ethereum and gas and your token. You have just your token and your FGC.
Well, that's how it is on Ethereum. Ethereum is the gas on the Ethereum blockchain. So
correct. Right, but on Ethereum, can't you also collect gas separately? You can separate the gas. No, okay, then
no,
that's
it's the
that I missed.
Yeah, so yeah, it's Ethereum is the gas thing it's interesting. Gas is really complicated. Like if you go like gas or something like that. I mean, it really is. You wouldn't believe how many developers don't understand gas. And I'm not a developer, but I understand gas, and it's like pretty funny to me. And that was one of the reasons I don't like a lot of smart contracts. I'll be honest, and I'm not saying I haven't even looked at your stuff yet. So as far as your blockchain, but I think that's one of the things I think from a usability standpoint about smart contracts platforms is you need a separate gas, or you have to use this underlying base currency to run tokens around. I think there's a usability issue, and I don't know what the solution to that is. I always thought it make more sense to me if the tokens could be moved across the blockchain in their own currency so that end users don't need to buy 2 cryptos to move the 1 token, for instance. So and to me, I think that's a huge barrier to adoption out there with smart contract. And this is not just Ethereum. It's most of the smart contract platforms either have the same issue, right?
Right.
But I always just thought that it would be a lot better if the gas was built into the native token and that somehow then the token could settle out with the base blockchain for paying for the transactions so that end users didn't need to buy the additional coin to run the gas.
Right.
And I don't know the solution to that, but that was one of the problems we hated about Ethereum. And even our own developers, it's amazing when you get into the people that are developers don't understand how Ethereum gas works. And timeout and transactions and things like that, especially when you're building DApps. Because we built 2 DApps when we were a token, one to distribute our tokens and one to swap our tokens to a new blockchain. And the gas was a big hang up for most people, like trying to deal with that piece of it and setting it and make sure you have enough gas but making sure you're not spending too much gas and things like that. So I don't know what the solution is for that. But
well,
anyway.
With the difference then between us and Ethereum would be the cost of the coin and the gas fee. So we try to keep the gas fee pretty low. It's actually 40 sats is I think is what we have it at right now in the gas fee itself for these transactions. So 40 sats in Ethereum versus 40 sats in Fantasy Gold, you're looking at quite a price differential there.
Is it a fixed fee?
No, no, it can be adjusted. So, for example, part of the decentralized governance of the chain is we can actually change things like gas fees without having to do any sort of soft fork or any sort of major upgrade.
I think that's a smart move, personally, because as the value of the token goes up, you're going to want to keep that fee low.
Right, and you can, and within the wallet itself, while you're sending tokens, you can change the gas fee. You can pay a little bit more. You can pay the absolute minimum. All depending on what the user needs to do or accomplish for that transaction.
So, how many tokens have moved over so far from, say, Ethereum to Fantasy Gold?
So far, 0. So right now we're just in talks with a few people. The last 12 months for blockchain, of course, has been pretty brutal for some people. So I think right now we're just kind of regrouping after that 12-month period that a lot of us have gone through, and we're starting to get the name out there again. Since we didn't have a huge marketing budget or ICO for marketing, we don't have a huge amount of followers like some other coins. So
right.
Hopefully once that starts to take off and more, and through things like this great podcast here, we can attract some more developers that will consider using it.
Well, I hope that that works out. So, Nico, where can people find out more about Fantasy Gold?
So we have our main website, which is fantasygold.io, and that website, just off the bat, is actually in the process of being completely reworked. We have some things that we want to add to the roadmap, update the roadmap, and the overall design away from a fantasy sports specific genre over to a more generalized fantasy sports, esports, gaming, that sort of thing. And from there, our Discord, we've got a great community right now. The mods there, very nice, and pretty nice tip bot going around. So anybody that wants to join our Discord, you'll find the link on the website. And, just come in, hang out, and you might get some free FGC from people throwing around rain tips.
Wonderful. Nico, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Folks, we'll have all those links listed up at robmcnealy.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. As always, it's been great talking with you, and thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.